Welcome, everybody, and thank you so much for joining the webinar today. We have an amazing group of panel speakers prepared that I will introduce shortly. But in the meantime, just so you know, please do not hesitate at any point during the webinar to drop your questions in the Q&A function below or raise your digital hand by pressing the raise hand button, and you may be called on to present your question live. Before we do kick off the webinar, please do introduce yourselves in the chat box. We are pleased to have so many of you here, and this is such a great opportunity for you to meet like-minded people from across the globe. So do take this opportunity to present yourself. And whilst you do that, I will introduce myself. I'm the moderator for today's event. My name is Laura. I'm a 2022 Millennium Fellow and Campus Director at University College London, here in London, United Kingdom. And UCL, my university, is in fact the only British university that is represented in this program. So I'm very, very, very honored to be moderating this event today. I am a recent winner of the Global CEO for 1 Month program out of 140,000 students, and I serve as a youth representative within the world's largest professional service provider in the world. A little bit more about myself. I'm also a journal director for London's biggest student-led international relations publication and a founder of Hearts International and TEDx Youth at BSB. But enough about me. Now turning to our wonderful panel, I will introduce them one by one, and then they will each have the opportunity to present a keynote speech if they wish to do so. So first up, we have Matthias Jabe. Matthias Charles Jabe is a food systems hero and a technology enthusiast working to make food systems stronger, fairer, and more sustainable in local communities in Ghana. He's a multi-award-winning, internationally recognized social entrepreneur whose life's mission is to create resilient food systems and introduce climate-smart solutions in local communities across Africa. He co-founded Ako Fresh and an agri-tech startup that offers smallholder farmers sustainable crop preservation services to reduce the issue of post-harvest losses. And Ako Fresh is a mobile solar-powered cold storage preservation technology that extends the shelf life of perishable crops from 5 days to 21 days. He's one of the 8 winners of the 2022 Youth for Climate Resilient Agriculture competition hosted by the Food and Agriculture Organization of the United Nations and IAAS World. So Matthias, it's lovely to have you. If you wish to hold your keynote speech now, that would be great.
Yes, thanks so much for your kind introduction. Dear fellows, I'm really, really excited to be here with you all. It's such an honor to be able to share my story with you. And I hope that by the time I'm done with my presentation, most of you be inspired to take your social impact work to the next level. So I started my social impact work in 2018. And when I started, I didn't really know anything about the SDGs. So I was just going along with my volunteering work. So anytime I hear anything about volunteering, I just hop in, I sign up, and then I just go ahead with it. But then I was having that passion to do good. I was having that passion, but I didn't really know where to start. I didn't know what to do. All I knew was to just join people to, do cleanup or go for community needs assessments and whatsoever, because I thought it was fun. I was joining in with people. I had the opportunity to network. I had the opportunity to meet amazing people. So that was all I was doing. So I came across an organization called Inactus, and I also came across an organization called Sage. So it was through these two organizations I got to, understand. And then through
At least on my end, I think we're having a little bit of a connection issue.
who told me that, hey,
Can you let me know in the chat if not only me?
Yeah, it's glitching for me too.
Okay. All right. Unfortunately, I think we're gonna have to move on to the next panelist, and hopefully by the time we finish with the second panelist, the internet connection will be back up and running. So I'll move on and introduce the next panel speaker. Wanto T. Wanto. Wanto is a Liberian activist, the co-founder of the Youth Leaders for Global Change and the African Diaspora Youth Network. He was named a 2020 FAF Friends of Humanity Alumni Awardee, 2019 Diana Awardee, 2018 Obama Foundation Leadership Asset and Dialogue Alumni, and more. He served as a steering member of the United Nations Department of Global Communication Youth Steering Committee and is currently pursuing a master's in public policy at Oxford. So we're pleased to have them. If they can please have their keynote speech, that would be great. Okay, they're not here yet, so we'll move on to the third lovely panel speaker, Vladislava Vetrogradska. Vladislava is an alumni of the LCC International University in Lithuania. Vlada is originally from Donetsk, Ukraine, and as a fellow, she created Vlada's Talk Show, a YouTube channel educating young people on important opportunities and opening up conversations on global issues such as the war in Ukraine and more. She's currently pursuing her master's at Cambridge, so we're very honored to have her. And if you wish to hold your keynote speech now, that would be great.
Yes, thank you so much for such incredible introduction. And I'm so happy that I'm seeing so many faces and so many, especially Noha and James. It's so nice to be here again. It's like, the year didn't pass technically. But first of all, thank you so much for inviting me in. And also thank you so much to United Nations Academic Impact and overall to Millennium Campus Network for doing this amazing Millennium Fellowship for so many years and having so many people taking part. So I would like to just first of all tell you all that it's so amazing to have you in and that you are in this amazing program chosen in for this year, for this class of 2022. So good job on that one. But in terms of myself, what I just wanted to say is that I started out quite kind of with the Millennium Fellowship because all of the things that I did before were mostly in my university. So even though it was a scale and I was doing impact in my community, but when I went in and started doing the Millennium Fellowship, I started meeting people from all around the world. And I just started seeing so many opportunities that are there. And from that, I really was aimed to tell more people about what they can do, especially young people, because we are all kind of at stages when we want to find our passions, where we want to find things that we're good at. And usually that comes out from trying new things, which can be sometimes very much not really out of your social way or of your comfort zone. I myself am like that. So for me, Millennium Fellowship was the first step to go in and try out new things. And I absolutely love the experience of being the campus director, bringing everyone in. But then I also really, really appreciate that the team has given me a lot of different opportunities to be there by actually having also being a moderator for one of the global webinars, to also being collaborative with another fellow from Bangladesh and making an amazing social impact podcast with them. And lastly, pairing up with them and with the team to do the graduation ceremony. All of those experiences have been really, really amazing. And I'm so, so thankful. And I just wanted to say that it's very, very excited to be back. But what I wanted to also say is that this is kind of the time when we have the exams, and this is kind of the wrap up also for the program. So just one of the things that I wanted to tell you all is that you relax in and that you take your time, that you pace yourself so that you're not missing out on anything, but you're just going and achieving your goals while also taking the time to do so well. So I think that probably that'll be all from me for now. And I think we got Maria's back. So yay. Thank you all.
Great, thank you so much. Do we have Matthias back? Great.
Hi. Yes.
Amazing. I'm so sorry. I think there was a problem with the connection. If you would like to sort of resume your keynote speech, I do apologize. It was right in the middle.
Yes, I'm so sorry about that. Yes, it's quite difficult getting a stable place at COP, but then I'll try my best. I hope it doesn't go off again. So I was just talking about how I started off as, a university student who was passionate about just doing good and not really knowing how to take it to the next level. So moving forward, I was introduced to Millennium Fellowship. My colleagues and I applied. We were just 5. And I remember we got an email from Millennium Fellowship that, hey guys, if you guys don't reach a threshold, you wouldn't be accepted to host Millennium Fellowship on your campus. It was quite difficult for us. We started spreading the news about Millennium Fellowship on our campus because it was the very first cohort that was introduced in 2019. So I spoke with my friends, and then most of them were interested, and they both, most of them applied. So finally, we got access to host 2 different cohorts, not even one. You had 2 different cohorts, and this should, tell you that most of the people on my campus were quite passionate about solving some of the world's complex issues, and they were so curious to know how to take their social impact to the next level. So, but one thing I want to talk about is the fact that as young people, we are being presented with such an amazing opportunity. How do we maximize it? Because you should understand the fact that you being part of this organization is just, a huge milestone for you. You can do a lot of things with it. But then we fail to understand how we can leverage on some of these huge platforms to take our social impact work to the next level. We don't really know how to leverage on some of the opportunities we get, to help other people also get access to other opportunities. So today, I am just here to tell you that you being part of the Millennium Fellowship is no mistake. You being part of the Millennium Fellowship is something that you should be really proud of, and make use of all the tools, resources, and the network that it has given you to do something really greater. Because when I was graduating from Millennium Fellowship, I worked with a group of people, but then I was still like, I thought I could do something extra. I thought I could do something extra. So I spoke with the people within my core that, hey, could we work on something? Could we collaborate? But we all had different perspectives. We all had different interests. So we went separate ways. But then I told myself that at the end of the day, I have been able to receive training. I've gone through different webinars with Millennium Fellowship. I was also able to complete a course, which gave me a bit of insight into social entrepreneurship. So now how then do I take it to the next level? So I then looked back to an issue I faced in 2018. That was when I went on one of my volunteer trips. I met a 56-year-old woman who took me around a farm. This woman was sharing how hard she had worked only to lose 1/3 of all her tomatoes. And I remember she told me that her only source of livelihood was farming. And she didn't really know how to get access to money to fend for herself and her family. So that story came to mind one day, and I said, wow, the issue of food security is something that needs to be tackled. And I just told myself, okay, why don't I take a solution to this woman in the community? So through that process, I realized that the issue of post-harvest losses was something that is global. It wasn't just an issue in just that pilot community. I had met that woman. So I fast forward, looked into different solutions to help tackle the issue of post-harvest losses and food waste. And that was how I was able to birth my startup, that is AcoFresh. And when I started, I had a lot of people telling me that, hey, I don't think you'll be able to lead an agri-tech startup. I don't think you'll be able to launch a social innovation considering your background of study. And this is one advice I have for you all. You shouldn't really let your background of study be a barrier. You shouldn't let what people tell you demoralize you, because I believe that once you are passionate about doing something, that passion alone will help you drive your ambitions and your dreams to the next level. Because there's a saying that people often buy into why you do what you do rather than buying into what you do. So people tend to listen to your mission. People tend to listen to why you are doing good, and then they buy into that idea. I was telling some of my friends that I go for some competitions at the global level, and I'm always in awe because they end up giving me the grand prize, and I tell myself I've not done anything much. I'm competing with people who have been working on their social impact initiatives for 8 years, but then I end up, getting grand prizes. And that is why I'm telling you that you should always look at why you do what you do. So even if you want to take your social impact work to the next level, understand your why, because it's your why that will always keep you moving forward. It's your why that will always prevent people from demoralizing you, because the social impact journey, it's really difficult. You get access to you wouldn't get access to funding. You wouldn't get access to getting the necessary resource you need to take your work to the next level. And it's really, really stressful. So if you don't really know your why and you don't really have passion for the work you do, it is very difficult. I wouldn't really want to tell you about most of the struggles I went through when starting my initiative, probably another time. But all I want to tell you is that have a why, and then have a clear pathway forward to achieving most of your goals. And that is something that will really try drive whatever you want to do and take it to the next level. And before I go, I will leave you with a few notes. One thing is that you need to really have effective time management, because I understand we are all having different commitments. I understand we are still students, but then I am a student. Jasmine is a student. Vladisva is also a student. Most of us are still students, but we've been able to lead social impact initiatives, and we have been able to take it to the next level. And how did we do that? For me, I believe time management is a key factor in achieving this, because you are having academic work, you are having family life, a lot of things coming together. But then I believe that if you're able to really manage your time very well, you should be able to achieve this. And it's more rewarding to have people telling you that you've been able to achieve this, you've been able to create social impact in your community and in your country whilst you are still a student. It's always rewarding. So just have effective time management, and you should be able to do this. And another thing is that you need to try and connect with people, because connecting with people is really important. Don't try to work alone. You can never work alone. So whilst you take your social impact to the next level, leverage on partnerships, leverage on strategic relationships and strategic partnerships to be able to help you drive what you are doing forward. When I started my presentation, I spoke about the fact that I wasn't having any experience in agri-technology. I wasn't having any experience in renewable energy, but then I was able to build a strong team, and I'm working with co-founders who are coming from 2 different continents, and we are working together remotely to drive my startup forward. So I couldn't have done this alone. So if you have that mindset that you think you should be able to work on your social impact alone, it's really not possible. It's very difficult. So try and connect with people, try and work with your mates and your peers, whoever you think shares the same mission with you. And I believe that you should be able to take this to the next level. And then finally, I want to talk about the fact that you shouldn't also think that you've got it all figured out. When you win an award, when you win a grant, don't think that is all, because there's so much to it. That is one thing I always tell myself. That is why I keep, moving forward and getting other recognitions, because I always try to leverage on the little I have gotten, and I always take it to the next level. So for instance, Millennium Fellowship, I told myself I've been able to be part of such a global network. And how then do I connect with other fellows to work on different projects? I remember having webinars for other university campuses with different fellows from different campuses, because I was trying to look at how I can build synergies amongst my cohorts and look at how best we can carry our social impact to the next level. So as students, I think we need to now more than ever leverage on science, innovation, and emerging technology to ensure a world that everyone can thrive in. And I believe that although our world is faced with a lot of challenges that does not really meet the needs of people and the planet, I believe that there are a lot of reasons for us to be optimistic about the future, and that emerging technologies really present us with a lot of growing opportunities that can transform our world. So as I'm bringing my presentation to a close, I really urge you to take up opportunities, have effective time management, learn how to connect with people and leverage on your relationships to, get access to extra opportunities. And don't forget to rest and have fun, because it is very, very important. Because if you end up not having fun and you get burnt out, it's not really good. So I want to thank Millennium Fellowship so much, and United Nations Academic Impact for such an amazing initiative that keeps bringing students from all over the world forward to take their social impact to the next level. And I'm always grateful for Millennium Fellowship. And I hope that you guys will be able to take your solutions to the next level. Thanks so much for having me.
Thank you so much. I mean, just in that keynote speech alone, I think we've all learned a little bit, and thank you so much for that presentation. Now, lastly, but surely not least, I'm going to present our last panel speaker, Jasmine Amok Agay. She's a Ghanaian American social entrepreneur, Tillman Scholar, children's book co-author, environmentalist, and graduating senior at Arizona State University in Barrett, the Honors College. She has a background in marketing, sustainability, and technological entrepreneurship and management, and is passionate about the intersection between human rights, the environment, and sustainable development, with a very specific focus on marginalized communities who are disproportionately affected by climate change. Her work as a Millennium Fellow has actually led her to found her startup, Countdown Circular Economy Solutions. Countdown CES is an early-stage global technology startup taking a community-centered approach to tackling plastic pollution, both in Ghana, West Africa, and at ASU. She's leading the creative direction and project management of the Countdown CES student teams with the Herberger Young Scholars Academy, Kwame Nkrumah University of Science and Technology, the Luminosity Lab, Asheshi University, and engineering projects and community service at ASU. By using technology to upcycle plastic waste and into eco-friendly consumer products and reduce emissions in plastic processing and manufacturing, teams are creating a means of transition from the traditional model of the global linear economy to the model of the circular economy. So thank you so much for being here today. And if you do have a keynote speech, we look forward to listening to it.
Thank you so much, Laura. I really appreciate the introduction. Hi, everyone. It's a pleasure to be on here today. It truly is an honor. The Millennium Fellowship was a pivotal point in my journey as a social entrepreneur and someone who really champions social impact in my local and global communities. I've always been someone that's been very passionate about human rights and the environment. I started a blog in 2018 called Do Good by Jazz, a social media blog. And I wanted to use it as like a platform to draw awareness to social issues, but I really didn't have a refined approach as to how I was going to go about actually creating the impact I wanted to see in the world. So I became a fellow, fortunately, in the 2020 year. And I along with the rest of my other campus cohorts at Arizona State University, got a chance to really refine our approach to social impact. And for me, I use that as an incubator for my ideas, the direction I wanted to go, and also learn what does it mean to be a leader? What does it mean to address the needs of a community? What is the best approach for problem solving? And it was really, really pivotal because of the fact that I learned that I alone cannot bring the solution to the communities I want to serve. In fact, I have to co-create with the communities, or they tell me what they want. They lead the direction, and I am just there to provide the resources, the empowerment, and whatever else I can, in the platform if necessary, to drive that change. So for me, a problem statement that I came across that was really alarming was that without any significant action, there may be more plastic than fish in the ocean by weight by 2050. This was a statistic by the Ellen MacArthur Foundation, and this particular statistic drove me to want to do something, drove me more to want to do something about plastic pollution. I am originally from Ghana, and when I was living in Ghana, I was very much aware of the fact that there was a lacking waste management infrastructure, and that led to such a significant plastic pollution problem. I'm obviously now in the United States, and we also have a significant plastic pollution problem. In fact, plastic has been found in every corner of the universe. Okay, sorry about that. And to a point where it's infiltrating our own anatomical systems and providing a whole public health crisis on top of an environmental crisis. And as someone who's very passionate about gender equity, protection of children and women, they were the most vulnerable groups when it came to this challenge, in addition to climate change and all of its effects. So I created Countdown as a way to empower communities, specifically the youth, to be the drivers of social change and co-create and design the solutions needed to actually create the impact we're looking for. So I work with various student teams in Ghana, now in Nigeria. We're also working on everything from high-tech to low-tech projects, whether it's furniture design or smart tech technologies that address trash. I also educate young groups of students in the primary and secondary school levels around climate change and sustainability and social impact. And we host beach cleanups. We just hosted one in Accra, Ghana on Saturday, and we're doing a whole bunch of activities and initiatives to try and really make people not only aware of this greater issue, but also to let them know that they can make a difference. And that's what I also want to leave with you all today, is that you are here for a reason, as Matthias said. This is not by accident. I love the fact that you guys are all passionate people who want to drive change in your communities. And I want to let you know that I'm right here behind you, cheering you on. This community here is something special, and I want you to really take advantage of that. These are like-minded people who share your sentiment and being frustrated with the world's challenges, and yet want to take action. I hope you lean on all of us as a greater community and ask us for help. That's how I was able to do this, is because I asked for help. I reached out to other fellows, I've partnered, and I've learned from everyone. And I hope that you know that your voice matters. Please don't ever doubt the value of your voice and the action that you can take. And also just know that though this world may be challenging and though these issues are daunting, it's up to us to make a difference. And we're not alone, we have each other, and our collective action is exactly what this world needs. So thank you so much for having me here today, and I'm excited to answer any questions you may have.
Thank you so much for that quick speech. I'm just going to start off with a couple of questions that I have that I'm sure some other people on this call might also have. So firstly, I would like to sort of ask each of you shortly to describe your experience as a Millennium Fellow and describe some of the most important lessons that you learned during the fellowship. I know some of you mentioned this already during your keynote speeches, but if there's anything that you wish to point out, please do so. Jasmine, if you would like to start.
Absolutely. I thoroughly enjoyed my experience as a fellow. I was so excited at the chance to work with people from all over the world. In fact, I think that was one of the most exciting things, was the fact that I was meeting people in countries I never would have come across otherwise. For us, my group at ASU, we were all very much a close-knit group. You know, our meetings every Saturday morning were very much ones where we not only went over the content of the course, but also we co-created with each other. We would bounce off ideas of, hey, I'm trying to do this with my startup or my initiative or my organization. Do you guys have any feedback we can create? And outside of even my own cohorts group, I was able to work with a lot of students at KNUST and also with students in Nigeria as well. And because we were all trying to champion SDG 12, responsible consumption and production, with a focus on plastics, we actually got to learn about best practices in Nigeria, in Ghana, in the United States, and India as well. So that was a really awesome experience, just because it really informed my direction moving forward with my startup now countdown.
Amazing. Thank you so much. Vlada, if you would like to input anything.
Yeah, of course. I would say that I've mentioned some of the things in terms of the Millennium Fellowship, but I think quite the highlight also, as Jasmine said, working with other people and creating new things with them. And I was working on my project for the Millennium Fellowship, and there was also another Millennium Fellow, Srijan Banak from Bangladesh. He was working on his startup. And then because, by the way, of the team at MCN, we kind of came together and we did a podcast about social impact, interviewing other Millennium Fellows. So we kind of did a whole thing with, collaborating between and then also inviting people in. So I think collaboration has been such a highlight. And I think it's a highlight overall of the Millennium Fellowship, meeting new people and working with them. So I would say personally, that was really cool. But then also, as just on campus, I think we also got to be a little bit closer. We met each other more. We knew a little bit more about what our passions are, what are we good at, and just overall, I think, because we were also, it was the first time that Millennium Fellowship was at my university, so that was also a very interesting experience to tell to administration, why is it important? And I know that some of the fellows did interviews, and overall, I think it was just really interesting and quite a highlight for all of us, because we also didn't expect that we would be chosen. So that was there too. So I would say so. That was pretty much all.
Thank you so much. That's great. Matthias, if you have anything to add.
Yes, of course. I think one thing that really cuts across is global collaboration, because so if you are listening to this now, I think you need to know the power of collaboration, the fact that you being able to work with people across different cultures, even if not different cultures, you guys are having different perspectives. And one key thing that should really help you as a young professional is the fact that you being able to understand how you can work with other people and how to get along with people is really important, because if you are always working alone, you think you've got it all, you think you know everything, and you are not willing to even accept what other people have on board. So, the Millennium Fellowship presents an opportunity for you to work in teams. That is why you guys are working in cohorts, an opportunity for you to learn from each other. So I think what Jasmine and Blaska said, it's really important. You could see that they work with other fellows from different campuses, and that was really exciting. And that is what I also did. I worked on 2 different projects, and that ended up being Millennium Fellowship projects, because I remember us at the time, we wanted to work on individual projects, and then Millennium Fellowship presented us another opportunity to work on a cohort project. So that was another opportunity for us to meet, brainstorm, and then develop 2 new projects. And it was really exciting. So I think global collaboration is something that really works. It is a powerful tool you can leverage on to take your social impact to work to the next level. A clear example is what I am doing now. So my startup, I have 2 co-founders. I have one from India and the other from the UK. And we've been working remotely for the past 2 years, and a lot of people are really excited about it when I introduce my team, because they get to appreciate the power of global collaboration. They get to appreciate the fact that we are coming from different cultures. We are working across 3 different continents, and we are able to, still take our solution to the next level. And our solution has been wide appreciated by a lot of organizations across the UN, World Economic Forum, and several organizations have recognized our work. And this is the power of global collaboration. So if not anything, today, I think you need to think about collaborating with people, working with other people to help drive your solution to the next level.
Amazing. Thank you. Thank you all for inputting on that question. I do have another question, if that's all right. And it goes as follows. If you could please kindly describe one particular moment during your Millennium Fellowship experience that perhaps marked you. Again, I do know that some of you might have touched on this, in which case the people that haven't really addressed this question can go first. But sort of a marking point during the Millennium Fellowship and an important lesson that perhaps you've taken away from that, apart from all the collaboration and networking opportunities that have been described in great detail so far. Again, Matthias, if you want to go first, you can, or Vlada. I see.
Yeah, I just unmuted, but if that's okay. But I just remembered that for me, I think the moment was also when we had our first ever like cohort training and we had our first session, and me and my other co-campus director, we were both in there planning it out, how we're going to do bad things, how we're going to have everyone in, and it was very exciting. But at the same time, I was like, oh my gosh, the semester's only starting and we're about to go into this fellowship and we're going to be doing these sessions and we're going to be dedicating a lot of time. And I'm like, I hope people come in. I hope that they don't, ditch the program. I hope that we go on, that we succeed. And I remember that at some point I was a little bit anxious just because that was a new thing, as I said, and that was really out of my comfort zone. And I was like, oh my gosh, it's exciting. But at the same time, I'm like, oh no, how are we going to handle it? And I think then when we went to the graduation ceremony and we had our last session, everyone was so sad that it was ending. And I was like, that's so amazing that we come all this way and we all did our projects into the program, and just how we were all very much united and kind of sad that this chapter has ended. So I think that at some point, the lesson was learned to be a leader, but at the same time to really make sure that everyone in the team, everyone in the cohort is supported, everyone's working on their projects. If they need any help, that we make sure to provide them all that support needed. So at some point, those two, the opening and then the closing kind of the program was quite the highlights at this point, especially as a campus director, I would say. But yeah, go ahead, Matt. Yes.
Okay, yes, I think that was quite good. I can also relate in a way. So yes, of course, one of the highlights for me is the first time we met as a cohort. We were all doing introductions, telling each other about our social impact experience and our social impact journey. And just that moment alone was very inspiring, honestly. And, I could really see that there's a really huge potential for us to, make a difference in our communities. Because one thing about me is that I always get inspired when I see my peers doing something amazing. That is one of my biggest motivation as a young individual. Because when I see that, I tell myself, what can I also do? Because my colleague said he's been able to mobilize, a group of 500 people, and that was really exciting. My colleague is saying that he's been able to develop a device that is solving an issue, and then I asked myself, so how can I also contribute? So that alone was really inspiring for me. And when we did introductions, I heard exciting stories. I heard all the challenges some of my teammates were facing when they started their social impact journey. So that moment was really inspiring for me. And I think it's one of the highlights. I think at that point, we were also able to look at possible synergies. And then we were also able to learn from each other because The social impact journey is it's not really too different. The experiences, the challenges we face is not really different. You could see that Jasmine will mention some of her challenges, Vlad will also mentioned some of her challenges. I also mentioned some of my challenges. You realize that they are very similar. So at the end of the day, we're looking at how to mitigate some of these challenges. So I believe that that experience alone was one of my highlights, because it was really inspiring getting to listen to all the exciting stories, all the exciting experiences and innovations from my
Amazing. Thank you. Jasmine, if you want to take this one as well, and then we'll move on to the next question.
Sure. Mine was, I think, when I was attending the other panels of guest speakers, that was something that hearing from people who have been established in the field for quite some time, and just hearing about their experiences and their stories of what led up to where they are today. Particularly, there was one, and I feel so bad because I'm forgetting his name, but I do know he's from Tanzania originally. He was talking about how his approach, they had designed a whole approach for their program, and they began to do it, and they realized that, in fact, the result that they were getting was actually the very opposite of what they anticipated. And so they had to go back to the drawing board. And I loved how candid and open he was about that. I think, especially as young people, and we're all students, as was mentioned earlier, it's important to realize, like, you're never going to stop learning in this whole journey. And I think for me, it was also kind of a permission to know that what you think you may know is like the approach may be subject to change, and that's absolutely okay. You just have to be adaptable. And so that's something I continuously go back to every single day.
Amazing. Thank you all for giving such amazing answers. We do have a question from the public around the best tips and tricks to best manage your time, considering that a lot of students that are involved in the program, such as Millennium Fellowship, are involved in so many other projects, and it can sometimes get overwhelming. So how can we best sort of deal with that situation? Vlada, if you wish to go first, go for it.
Sure. For me personally, what works the best is just kind of planning out the things, like listing everything that needs to be done. If there are deadlines, to have those deadlines in, and then kind of, putting it all on paper. So I'm more of a kind of journal type of person. For me, it's very important to write it all up. I remember it better. And then just having it kind of as a plan where I know things that are very, very urgent that they need to be done at this particular date, or I have to get it done very much ASAP. But if there are some other things that can be waited a little bit, or I need to plan them out before I actually go and do them. So for me, the best really thing is, during the weekend, seeing all the deadlines, seeing all the things, writing it all up, prioritizing, and then just going on and really, really going with the time, especially when I was a Millennium Fellow, because we had, I was writing thesis. So I was also, very much like, oh, I need to get this part by this time, then I'll have the report here, here, and here. So for me, just keeping myself accountable in that way, at least on paper, really, really helped me out. So very basic, but the one that works, after all.
Great. Jasmine?
Absolutely. I totally agree with you, Vlada. I write everything down. It's just because otherwise I'll get so overwhelmed with like everything that's ahead of me. So yeah, I echo everything that she said. And then also, as much as you have a lot to do, as was mentioned earlier, make time for yourself, because it's really important to like separate yourself from all of that's calling you, and just do something to reorient and like kind of re-energize yourself to go back and be able to give as much as you can to the work that you really want to do. So just create balance and then write everything down. Those are my two pieces of advice.
So normally when you are the last to answer such questions, it's like you have nothing to say because yes, of course, they've clearly point out all the tricks. But then what I would also want to talk about is the fact that we are working on a lot of projects. Some of us may be working on several projects, but then we should really have a priority. That is one thing I did, because you can't really run and lead about 3 projects at the same time. It is really huge and time consuming, and you may not end up achieving most of your milestones. So what I did was that I remember I got recognized by Ford Motor Company Fund for co-leading a development of a virtual disability-friendly platform to help hearing impaired students study. And I remember when I started my ACOFRES journey and received a grant of $25,000, I told myself that, okay, so why don't I hand over the hearing impaired projects to a different team to work on, whilst I have a clear focus, because an organization has given me that funding. So I can't just sit back and not go according to their timeline to achieve our milestones. So I had to just take it back, although I wasn't really happy about it, but I had no choice. So, and today, because I had that priority, I've been able to do a lot with working with just that one project, rather than having a lot of projects on my hands. So there's no harm in, letting people take charge of some of the things you are working on whilst you supervise. You can even come in as an advisory board or whatsoever. So just have a priority. And I think that is really helpful. Because if you want to cramp a lot of things, you will really not end up achieving most of your milestones. So that is just one thing I also want to add to what Jasmine and Vlad said, because I think they clearly hit everything on the point.
Amazing. Great. I do have another question about building successful projects and initiatives. And so I know a couple of you sort of had already had the idea, or actually the entire project set up during your time as a Millennium Fellow, and then sort of build on that after you graduated. But any sort of insights within building successful projects and initiatives? I know obviously it takes a lot of dedication and hard work, but maybe something about what keeps you motivated and driven, and sort of what's the key to success that everybody wants to know. Matthias, if you want to take this one first.
Okay, right. I think this is a really good question, because I know that there are many of you who would want to take your ideas to the next level, or are not really having any idea, but then you want to start something new or work on a social impact project. So I think one thing you need to have in mind is how to be resilient, because if you are not resilient, you will not really get most of the things done, especially when it comes to working on a social enterprise. It is really difficult. You don't get access to funding. You don't get access to the resources you need. It is always difficult, at that point. So once you are resilient and you know your why, that is going to drive you forward. I think at the beginning of my speech, I mentioned something about knowing your why, and the fact that people tend to buy into why you do what you do rather than seeing what you do, because your why is really important. So you need to know why you do what you do, and that will keep you moving forward. You don't just do or work on a project when you see that, okay, Matthias was recognized by World Economic Forum, so let me also get something doing. It doesn't work like that. You need to have a clear why, and then that will really drive you forward. And you should also leverage on partnerships. I think we spoke a lot about that, and collaboration. And then you need to also have in mind that you can't really start big. Leverage the little resources you have, and then expand. I know many of you will be looking for grants, receiving $100,000, whatever amounts. I know that your budgets are always huge, but then make sure that you make a really huge impact with the little resources you have. And I believe that these points should really help you build a really successful project, because one thing I can tell you for a fact is that it is really difficult. It's never easy. Probably another time I'll talk about some of the challenges. Normally, I don't like talking about it. So yes, of course, you face a lot of challenges, but then never let these challenges demoralize you. Have a clear goal. Have in mind that you are trying to help solve a really huge issue that is facing a lot of people. Try to know that you are contributing towards creating a thriving world. And then that is one thing that you need to be really more proud of, not seeing the money or I can tell you for a fact that today I've still not received any funding or salary for my startup. But then it's something I've been doing full time for the past 2 years. So you should know and you should really have in mind that your solution is something that is creating a better world for people. And just that alone will help you, achieve whatever you want to achieve. I'm sure Jasmine and then Vlad has amazing contributions too.
Great, thank you so much. Jasmine, if you wish to go next.
Absolutely. Matthias actually touched on a lot of the things I was going to say, which is really collaboration, I would say. For me in particular, I knew that what I was going to do, like my background is primarily in business, a little bit in product design, and slight engineering, but what I intended to do, I knew required specialties in those areas of engineering and product design. So as I came across, as I completed my Millennium Fellowship, I then started actually reaching out to professors at my university and just telling them about what I'm trying to do. And I was very fortunate for my professors to be so supportive. And one led an engineering program, which is focused on social entrepreneurship. And he said, you know what, we love this idea. We're going to equip you with a whole team of engineering students to build one of your products. And so I've been working with them for 4 semesters now. And new students come in and like I teach them about sustainable product design, and then they take it and run with it and then create our end products. That's happened with several other organizations and universities now. So I think for me, talking to people is the biggest thing. Like, don't be afraid to like voice what you're trying to do, because you never know who might be in your corner and say, you know what, I really want to help you make this happen. I think what also just keeps me going is just knowing that there's a lot of people who also want to make a difference, seeing the young people on the front lines, trying to create solutions. That motivates me that, you know what, there's a real need here. There will always be a need. And so let me try and contribute as well.
Great, thank you. Just before you go, about 2 seconds, just a heads up that we are coming quite close to the end of the session. So if you do have any sort of urgent questions that you do want to ask, do send them through now or raise your hands. I saw that there were a couple of people that raised their hands. I apologize for not calling on to you. So Vlada will just answer quickly. And then if anybody has a question, please don't hesitate to send it through or raise your hand. Vlada?
Yeah, I would pretty much say that what Marias and Yasmin said, that it was amazing. I fully agree in terms of all the aspects. And honestly, I would probably relate in a way that what kept me going with a project was the support of people around me, and just hearing, people that saying that, hey, this is so great, you should not stop at this point, you should go further, you should think of new ways to engage, you should think of new people to invite, and just having the support around has really, really kept me going. But I do agree fully on, on the challenges part, on just sometimes being afraid to talk to people, even, be like, oh, maybe should I ask, should I not ask? So it would be really, really amazing to have those surrounding you, and just, always being there, if anything. So I would definitely say that really kept me going, especially with a project.
Great. One, I think, final question. What role has the fellowship experience sort of played in your journey after the graduation? So I know, for example, Vlada, you are currently doing a graduate scheme, and so not necessarily related to the degree itself, but in general, so that everybody can answer, what role did the fellowship play after you graduated? And now looking back at it, apart from it being like an amazing experience that you had, how did you actually actively use it in your sort of day-to-day life?
Should I go first?
Yeah,
Okay.
go for it.
Yeah. So for me, I would definitely say that I just started looking at different opportunities from a different perspective, more in a way that instead of being scared of them, I was like, hey, let's try them out. You never know where you're going to end up in. So this is something that came in with me when it came to Cambridge, for example, because that is not a place that I would apply. If you asked me like during my second year of uni, I would not envision myself going there. I would not be thinking that it's a possibility. But then I did the fellowship during my fourth year, and that really kind of gave me this confidence that if you do try things out, if you, because I was very scared about going to the fellowship. It's like, this is a very big program. It's very competitive. You know, it's hard to get in, and then there are also another students at my university, and they're also wanting to go there. So I would personally say that that really gave me this confidence that I should try out no matter what, and just see how it goes. And you know, then I kind of started going into other projects, and I was gaining more networks, and I was getting more people that I know. And then I found out about, for example, Global Student Prize through Millennium Fellowship person, Aya Youssef. Shout out to her, she's amazing. We did basically an episode with her about it, and then I was like, well, maybe I should try applying too. You never know. That came in, and then when I saw that there were opportunities for Cambridge, I also decided that I should give it a shot, and that, you know, with everything happening, with all the previous experiences, I shouldn't be too afraid or scared about it, because then in the end of the day, I know that I at least tried, than rather, you know, going around and not knowing where it would end up. So personally, I would just say, still try out for different programs, for different things, whether it comes with university, whether it's something more related to leadership, whether it's about grants or funding or anything else. Just sometimes, even if you feel like, oh my gosh, this could be a little too big, maybe I'm not the right fit for it, still to try out and apply, because you never truly know where you're going to end up in. So that's definitely one of the things I could say from my also personal experiences. And
Good to know. I definitely agree with that. So, Jasmine, if you want to complement that with anything.
Absolutely. Just echoing everything that Lada said, I really do think like it really emboldened me to like go for the big opportunities that I would have been very scared to do otherwise, honestly. It kind of showed me that, you know, you have something have something to contribute. And also just like as I lead Countdown and like various student teams, I'm using a lot of the model of the Millennium Fellowship, which is like delegation and specialization. So this team, you know, as the fellowship says, like, you guys are working on SDG 4, but feel free to co-collaborate. I kind of do the same thing with my students. I'm saying, you guys are working on furniture design, you guys are working on tech design, but feel free to collaborate. Like looking at how do we organize teams in a way that really maximizes the potential of everyone on the team. And so, yeah, just those are like probably, I know we're short of time. So those are just a few things I would say really helped me.
Great. And last but not least, Matthias.
Yes, and then again, Vlada and Jasmine have said it all. Normally when you are last to speak. So, but yes, I think one important thing is the fact that you should know that the Millennium Fellowship Program is having a really good brand, you know, that you can always leverage to get access to other opportunities. One thing I have realized in my social impact journey is the fact that people want to see what you've done previously, and people want to see what you've been part of previously before they support you. So they want to see that you have that enough credibility to achieve, to receive additional support. You know, and that is one thing that keeps me getting recognized, you know, on and on and on. Because when I apply, sometimes when I join interviews, they ask, so what did you get from, you know, the previous program? Then they go check, they go, you know, read about it. And I think, so having been part of such a global organization, which has a really good brand, is something that you should really, really not take it as a joke, you know. And then another opportunity is that you get access to always visit Millennium Fellowship for anything you need. Not money, you don't always need money. You sometimes need resources, because I can always appreciate Noha. Noha has written 2 different recommendations, I think even 3 different recommendations for me. And, you know, they are always successful. Honestly, I spoke about getting a $25,000 grant. And it was Noha that put in a recommendation for me during the first phase of that program. You know, and I think you can always leverage on Millennium Fellowship. You can reach out to them. So After the fellowship, these are some of the ways I feel Millennium Fellowship has really helped me, because it's on my CV, it's in my some of my bios, it's on my LinkedIn. When people, see what Millennium Fellowship is, they are always excited about it. So I think you can also try and leverage on some of these things to get access to other opportunities as well.
Amazing. We'll take, I think, one quick question. Jonas, if I see you have your hand raised, if you would want to unmute yourself and ask the question. Okay, if not, then I think we're gonna be at the end of the webinar. Thank you all for joining. Just before you leave, I would like to ask all the panel speakers how the fellows can keep in touch with you. If you would like to share your email, your social media handles, maybe your LinkedIn website links, whatever you prefer. If you could either put that in the chat or send it to me and I can put that in the chat, whatever you prefer. These are really good things to sort of take a note of. As all the panel speakers have said multiple times, who you know is also very important all the time, wherever you go. And these are amazing people that you've had the chance to listen to. So do connect with them. So I see Vlada, Hespeda, Jasmine, Matthias, and okay, Jasmine, Matthias. Perfect. All right. So thank you again for this amazing panel. And I look forward to keeping in touch with you, as I'm sure everybody else on this call now is looking forward to. So thank you again, and that's a wrap. Thank you for being here, and I hope you had an amazing time and you learned something today.
Thank you so much, everyone.
Thank you, everyone. Bye.
Thanks so much.